Welcome to California in Focus. I'm Eliana Carnoto. Universal basic income has been a conversation topic in California and nationwide in recent years. But a new national study gives some insight into how effective guaranteed income programs really are. Joining me to tell us more is the Center Square's California reporter, Kenneth Schrupp. Kenneth, give us some background on this study, who it was by, and what data did they draw on?
Eliana, the National Bureau of Economic Research conducted a study with 3,000 participants over 3 years. 1,000 low-income individuals were given $1,000 per month, and 2,000 low-income individuals were given $50 per month as a control group. What they did was compare the effects of giving this money on the control group to the recipient group. And they found that the recipients and their partners work less and earn less, and that the negative effect on wages and earnings grew worse over time. People had often theorized that UBI would improve non-economic metrics for recipients, but what this shows is that people spent a lot more time engaged in leisure, so their leisure time increased, while the other things that were expected to improve did not. Recipients spent less time compared to the control group on sleeping, childcare, community engagement, caring for others, and self-improvement. I think there's a especially important piece of data here where it says that recipients' non-transfer incomes were significantly reduced. So the study found, quote, for every $1 received, total household income excluding the transfers fell by at least 21 cents, and total individual income fell by at least 12 cents, which pretty much shows that the effect gets magnified if you have multiple people in your household. Everyone who's working works less if one person is receiving the payments in the household.
And how does this compare to more common means-tested welfare programs?
Well, most means-tested welfare programs end up with people cutting work and income to keep qualified for benefits. So this universal basic income or unconditional cash transfer programs are created to ensure that people aren't discouraged from working more or doing more. The idea is that if you switch from means tested to unconditional, that people will be able to look for and get higher quality work or spend their time on, productive, quote, non-work activities. But unfortunately, they did not improve the quality of their employment and did not improve human capital investments, such as training. There have been a lot of theories advancing UBI would really encourage people to work more or to increase entrepreneurship. During the 2020 presidential primaries, lawyer Andrew Yang became very famous for his proposal for $1,000 a month freedom dividend that he said would, again, encourage people to find work, and it would increase entrepreneurship. This study put a little bit of water on claims that, if people had more money, they would start businesses. They found participants did have more entrepreneurial orientation and intentions, but that didn't actually translate to significantly more entrepreneurial activity because, quote, very few people have the inclination to become entrepreneurs in general. There are some complaints, though, or limitations on this study because the study didn't really talk about how UBI interacts with inflation. For example, would having a very large scale national program increase inflation? This is a concern that some have, and this was just not a topic of research for this study. And others say that there should be some more research done into unconditional cash payments like this, replacing some welfare programs where people aren't forced to spend money on certain things or have certain allocations, but they just get a check every month that they can spend as they please to the best of their ability.
Are there any states currently piloting programs similar to this?
Yes, so last November, California became the first state in the country to pilot a UBI program. They're giving $1,000 monthly payments to foster youth in Ventura County, which is just north of Los Angeles and on the coast, and $1,500 monthly payments to foster youth in San Francisco.
Are there any concerns about universal basic income programs from more progressive individuals?
Yeah, just think about it. If you have a limited amount of government funding and you give resources to everyone, then people who are most in need just will get less of the available. There'll be less resources to give to the people most in need. And that is what progressives tend to say. And there's the CEO of Up Together, which is a national nonprofit sort of dedicated to anti-poverty. They said, unconditional cash transfers have a much bigger impact if they're directed toward those who truly need the money. Giving cash to people with higher incomes through universal basic income diminishes the economic benefits individuals from socioeconomically disadvantaged communities receive from the cash payments. This kind of sentiment is fairly consistent among both, conservatives and progressives. People think that programs should generally be limited to those most in need. And that's the most efficient way to spend government money and leave the most resources available without increasing taxes.
Well, Kenneth, it will be very interesting to follow this as people continue to experiment with it and, as you mentioned, consider different ways of using this, perhaps replacing certain kinds of welfare programs rather than going to a complete universal basic income. But listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com.